I'm the Honorable Nancy Smith, the judge here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Calling the case of the people of the state of Arizona versus Norman Bates. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case involves the murder of 3 people. Norma Bates, Joe Considine, and Marion Crane. In this case, the plaintiffs are the people of the state of Arizona via District Attorney Caitlin, and Norman Bates is the defendant. People of the jury. First-degree murder is what we are charging Norman Bates with, and it is defined as the unlawful killing that is both willful and premeditated, meaning that it was committed after planning or lying in wait for the victim. Norman Bates, how do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Are both sides ready?
Ready for the state, Your Honor?
Ready for the defense, Your Honor. Okay, will the jury please stand and raise your right hand? So you are the jury.
Are we the jury?
You are the jury. Okay. Does each of you swear that you will fairly try the case before this court and that you will return a true verdict according to the evidence and the instructions of the court? So help you God. Please say I do.
I do.
Okay. District Attorney Caitlin, do you wish to make an opening statement?
I do, Your Honor. People of the jury, this trial is not a hard one. 3 victims were found brutally stabbed and heartlessly tossed into a lake adjacent to the property owned exclusively by this man, Norman Bates. Innocent passerbys sought out shelter and comfort, and instead they didn't live to see morning. They had the misfortune to choose the Bates Motel as their place of refuge, and it became the home of their shallow graves. Evidence is paramount. Blood found in the Bates Motel, the murder weapon found in the Bates Motel, and the hideous disguise that Mr. Bates would wear during his murders. These treacherous crimes cannot go unpunished. This man must answer for the crimes he committed and for the lives he took.
People of the jury, although this case may seem black and white, there's more to the story than understanding Norman Bates. Mr. Bates is a quiet, gentle motel keeper who has faced hardship losing his business to a local bypass. He's a hard worker who has kept his motel running single-handedly. What the prosecutor failed to mention about my client is that he is not mentally stable. Mr. Bates is an innocent victim from his previously undiagnosed mental disorder. Mr. Bates suffers from multiple personality disorder and thereby was not in his right state of mind during the attacks. People of the jury, I ask you, can you convict a man of crimes he did not knowingly commit? You cannot put only part of his personality that committed these tragic incidents, but you can commit him to getting the help that he needs, to the help that was never offered him in the past.
Prosecutor, please call to the stand your first witness.
The state calls to the stand Dr. Sandy Dillon.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Dr. Cassie Dillon.
Prosecutor, please proceed.
Dr. Dillon, how long have you been a forensic expert, and what areas do you specialize in?
My area of expertise is in forensic science. More specifically, I specialize in crime scene investigation and blood identification. I've been doing this for 7 years now.
And what can you tell me about the crime that you investigated at the Bates Motel?
At the scene of the crime, we found 2 deceased bodies, a man and a woman. Through DNA testing, we found the woman to be Norma Bates, who is Norman's mother. The other victim is Joe Considine, who is the lover of Mrs. Bates.
And what was the state of the bodies when you found them?
Miss Bates was fully clothed, sitting in a rocking chair, and was taxidermy. This means that she was mummified or preserved to be that way. Joe Considine was discovered in an old shed, and his body was decomposing. After testing, we found that both victims were poisoned by strychnine, which is a rat poison. The victims possibly ingested the poison in means of food or drink.
And what can you tell me about Marion Crane?
Marion Crane's body was found in the lake right near Norman Bates Hotel, along with her automobile. She had suffered multiple stab wounds at a very close distance. By lesions and wounds on her body, we can infer that she knew who her attacker was. Also, the size and the lesions indicate that she was attacked and killed by a 9-inch standard substitution.
Judge Nancy, permission to enter into evidence, Exhibit A.
Permission granted.
Dr. Dillon, what can you tell me about this knife?
This knife is this 9-inch standard chef's kitchen knife that was used in the murder of Marion Crane. We were able to find trace amounts of blood, DNA, and DNA matter that were found on the wooden handle of the murder weapon. It tested also to be Marion Crane's biomatter as well.
And what was the condition of the bathroom in room 4 of the base motel, the room where Marion Crane was murdered?
We found trace blood evidence along with organic matter and hair that was found in the drain of the base motel. We also found synthetic wig fibers with Norman Bates' DNA. Those same fibers were snagged and knotted around a ring that Miss Crane was wearing when we found her in the lake. Taking all this into consideration, we were able to recreate the fatal stabbing of Marion Crane.
With the judge's permission, I'm now going to enter in Exhibit B. This is going to be a scene reenacted by actors that forensic psychology shows us is not unlike the way that Marion Crane was murdered.
You're going to need it, but doesn't matter. We'll restart it then.
Okay.
So, Exhibit C, we have here wig fibers found from the disguise that Norman Bates used during the murders. Thank you, Doctor. Oh, and, sorry, Exhibit D. The car that we pulled out of the lake adjacent to the property owned by Mr. Bates. And Exhibit E, the taxidermied photograph of Norma Bates when she was found in the basement of the Bates Hotel. Thank you, Dr. Dillon. I have no further questions for you.
Okay. Public Defender Cynthia, please bring your questions forth to Dr. Dillon.
Dr. Dillon? Hi. Dr. Dillon, although you're an expert witness in crime scene investigations and blood identification, do you have any relevant experience working with individuals with multiple personality disorder? No. No? What about individuals with dissociative personality disorder? No. No? Okay, well, it seems that you only possess factual information based on the evidence, and it seems like your area of expertise can only be valid when dealing with criminals who are competent during the scene of the crime. Your familiarity shows little relevant experience.
Objection, is there a question here?
Please. When working with those who suffer from mental illness, therefore, Dr. Dillon, I have no further questions, and I would like to call clinical psychologist Dr. Liat.
Please state your name.
My name is Dr. Leah.
And what is your relationship with Mr. Bates?
I've been assessing Mr. Bates for the past few months. Mr. Bates is a middle-aged man who seems to function as himself, then flips into Mrs. Bates, his mother when he remembers. his horrific childhood experiences with her.
And can you describe the personality that Mrs. Bates that Norman possesses?
Yes, so Mr. Bates was assessed with the Rorschach and Ball test, the brief symptom inventory, and the dissociative experiences scale. Based on the data I collected from these assessments, my evaluation of him during these assessments, that he has dissociative personality disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder.
Have you interviewed other people around Norman depicting that the other personalities seem to be like his mother's?
Mrs. Bates' personality seems to have been very critical of others, but especially Norman. The community members have complained.
No further questions.
District Attorney Caitlin, please bring your questions forth to Dr. Leah.
Dr. Leah, do you have any evidence that Mr. Bates is mentally unstable?
Well, Mrs. Bates has shown, or has been known in the community to have been really strict with Norman when he was a child.
But is there any sort of DNA testing that shows that he has multiple personality disorder?
There currently are no DNA testing to show mental illnesses. That doesn't make sense. We have different interviews.
Thank you, that's enough. And you've only worked with Mr. Bates recently, in the past few months in fact, where he's been put under a lot of strain from his current trial, trying to cover up his murders and the various going-ons at his hotel.
Objection. Speculation, Your Honor. My client is proven innocent until proven guilty.
Sustained. District Attorney, please limit your remarks to the proven criteria.
I apologize, Your Honor, I'll rephrase. Is it possible that Mr. Bates has been exhibiting mental instability due to the stress and strain he's put on under this trial and it's not indicative of his usual mental state?
On the contrary, actually, I believe the strain is enhancing his already existing condition of multiple personality disorder.
And in your career, how many patients have you diagnosed with multiple personality disorder?
This would be the first of my patients that I have diagnosed with MPD.
So this is the first person that you've had first-hand experience with multiple personality disorder. Thank you. No further questions.
You may step down, Dr. Leah. Thank you. Will the public defender please call their next witness?
Next witness, I need everybody to gasp. Okay. I call to the stand Norman Bates. Norman, can you please talk about the night that you were charged with murder?
I was just maintaining the motel as I usually do, and this man and woman came in and wanted to check our room, but they seemed real suspicious. So I checked out a room for them anyways. And then about 30 minutes later, the man comes back and starts asking me like all these intrusive questions. And I didn't want to talk to him, so I just walked away, and that's when he attacked me. Next thing I knew, I think I blacked out, and I woke up to the police officers cuffed me and taking me to their car.
Yeah, so it seems like you were running the business single-handedly. Everything was pretty, up to par. What's interesting is that do a lot of mysterious occurrences happen, like these intrusive questions?
Not at all. Most of the time, it's boring. We get like drifters here and there. They have places to be, but not me. My place is at the motel.
Yeah, okay. Although it may seem like a blur, can you please describe what happened to the best of your ability?
I don't really recall much, actually. Well, there's like fragments of my memory. The last thing I remember is me and my mother having an argument, and then I blacked out.
Really? What is the relationship with your mother?
I think our relationship is fine. As long as I do whatever she says, she won't hit me. I just want to be a good boy.
Norman, the Bates Motel has been out of business, and your mother shouldn't be taking care. You know she's been deceased, right? She's been deceased for over some odd years now.
What? She's not dead. She's at the motel.
Norman, she's dead.
She's at the motel waiting for me to come home. And if I don't get back soon, she's gonna get mad at me. But she's always mad at me. I can't seem to do anything right. If she wants something done, why don't she do it herself? Ah, you fucking bitch! How dare you yell at my son like that? Only I can do that. He's trash and he knows he's trash.
Order in the court. Ms. Magana, please calm down your client. Do you you have any further
No
questions?
further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. District Attorney Caitlin?
I have no questions for this man.
Norman, you may step down. Norman, you may step down. Norman, step down or I will have you removed from this court right away. Bailiff, please escort Norman out.
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I think we can all agree that what we just watched here was an albeit entertaining but pathetically desperate, fraudulent performance by a very guilty man trying to ensure his freedom. He understands just as clearly as you and I that if he doesn't convince you of this act, that of his alleged insanity, that he'll spend a very long time behind bars. So to ensure his freedom, Mr. Bates is trying to persuade you to put a guilty murderer into a pleasant mental facility for the genuinely mentally ill, which is a treatment that he doesn't deserve any more than Marion Crane deserved to lose her life. As the people of this United States, it is your duty to convict this man of his felonies, and in doing so, you will save the lives of his future victims.
Mental illness knows no age limit, whether you're rich, poor, race, creed, or color. During the course of the year, more than 54 million Americans are affected by one or more mental disorders. It is sometimes easy to forget that our brain is vulnerable to disease. People with mental illnesses often exhibit many of behaviors such as extreme sadness and irritability. And in more severe cases like Norman, they may also suffer from hallucinations and total withdrawal. Instead of receiving compassion and acceptance, people with mental illnesses may experience hostility and discrimination and stigma, like what District Attorney Caitlin just stated in her closing arguments. People of the jury, to protect against the possibility of acquit he's going free, some states either eliminated not guilty by reason of insanity or replaced with guilty because of mental illness. Individuals are found guilty because of their sentence. This forces the individual who has no capability for their actions to go to jail at the exact time it is not needed. When they regain their sanity, for these individuals being mentally ill, it's still the same as being guilty. Either way, they go to jail. Sadly, our prisons and jails have become de facto mental institutions.
Are we going to vote?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have already heard our closing statements. I'm now going to read you the law that you must follow in deciding this case. To prove the crime charged against the defendant, the prosecution must prove these things to you. First, that the murders were willful and premeditated, meaning that it was committed after planning and lying in wait for the victim. Second, that the defendant is competent and of sound mind and body. If each of you believes that the prosecution proved all of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you should find the defendant guilty. But if you believe the prosecution did not prove any one of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Please deliberate amongst yourselves.
Did it.
So guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity? Not guilty.
A question for the judge? If we say not guilty by reason of
Or
insanity,
guilty by reason of insanity.
what is the punishment?
If he is not guilty,
By reason of insanity.
then he will be institutionalized for a period of time, and pending testing and the condition that he resides in when his time for parole comes up, then he may or may not be released.
Just say not guilty.
Okay, and if he's guilty on basis of insanity,
If
then
he's guilty, then he will be sent to a maximum security prison for first-degree murder of 3 people.
all right, then let's poll the jury.
So is he guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity?
Guilty, raise your hand.
Not guilty by reason of insanity, please raise your hand.
The jury is split.
The jury is split.
Not going to retrial.
Just let him go.
Yeah, for just in case.
Okay, well,